2019. I'd like to call tonight's session of the City of Delaware Planning Commission to order. Could the clerk please read the roll?
Mr. Badger?
Here.
Mr. Halter?
Here.
Mr. Pearl?
Here.
Mr. Volnick?
Here.
Mayor Riggle?
Here.
Vice Chairman Mansoris?
Here.
Chairman Simpson?
Here. Moving on to item number 2 on our agenda, the approval of the motion summary of the Planning Commission meeting held on December 5th, 2019, as recorded and transcribed. What's the wish of the commission?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Pearl,
Second.
second by Mayor Riggle.
Mr. Badger?
Yes.
Mr. Halter?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Volnick?
Yes.
Mayor Riggle? Yes. Vice Chairman Mansoris?
Yes.
Chairman Simpson?
Yes. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, item 3, regular business. Could the clerk please read item A into the record?
Item A, 2018-3116, a request by Ohio Health for approval of a final development plan for a medical office building on approximately 3.31 acres on property zone B4 PUD, General Business District with a planned unit development overlay district, and located at 2295 West William Street, US 36.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this case is for a final development plan for approximately a 10,000 square foot medical office building to be owned and operated by Ohio Health. They own the entire 3.31 acre parcel, which is an outlot of the Willowbrook retail development. It is located at Lansdale Drive and Marysville Road. It is zoned B4 PUD. This goes back many years, as you all know, but I guess most recently in 2007, there was an update to this portion of the PUD text to bring it, add some more detail and bring it a little bit more in conformance with the requirements at the time. That was approved by council, and that led to kind of like Coglin's Crossing, the backbone infrastructure being put in place, Lansdale Drive, which is private, the bike path and the landscaping along Marysville Road, and setting up in the detention pond that's on the farthest corner, and kind of setting up for just final development plans to come forward as they may happen. In those intervening years, I recall that we had Huntington Bank at one time come forward on one of the outlots and ended up not being constructed, and I believe the developer has taken that lot and bought that lot back at any rate. But this lot then was subsequently purchased. There could have been up to 6 outlots up here. There will be less now because this applicant has taken up 3.3 acres. But that's some of the history at any rate of the Willowbrook retail component. So aerial photograph, should we need to refer to it, but just kind of visually describes what I just did for you. And then we've colored up a site plan here for you a little bit to maybe highlight some of the existing bike path and landscaping again that I just described. The blue box is, of course, the main medical office building. The smaller blue box is the proposed dumpster location. And then the light green is what would be filled in with landscaping and trees, bushes as required around the parking lot, etc. The area noted as future expansion potential is approximately half of the 3.3 acres. All of it is owned by Ohio Health at this point in time, and I think their idea, and they can certainly speak to this for themselves, is that in the future they could expand the building, reconfigure the parking, or add another, kind of a sister building with some other parking there as well. But this is what they wanted to begin with and leave themselves a little room for expansion, which is often what we recommend to applicants, but not often what we see because land costs being what they are. Most people don't take down more land than they need immediately, but this gives them some room for growth. On the site plan, the main access, and again, this is in accordance with those previous approvals, the PUD text, the Willowbrook Master Landscape Plan, and everything you see here is in conformance with all of that text. and all of the requirements of all the departments, but particularly of those approvals at the time. So with that in mind, the main access drive, and the only access comes off of Lansdale Drive to the parking field. You have the building up here. Future expansion would then require likely moving this dumpster to a different location, connecting a parking field or access, drive aisle like you see here through to there's a right out existing roadway here, again private, that would then connect that roadway network, but still manage the access to the site as all the backbone infrastructure did when it originally went in. So some 3D rendering supplied by the applicant. This is looking from William Marysville Road back across towards the southeast. You can see the building really addresses that corner with the parking field behind, which was preferred in that development text, but not required. This is looking from Lansdale Drive back towards then that intersection with US 36. And really, for all practical purposes, you can see the main door of the facility here off of the parking lot. So closer in renderings, I know these are probably better in your packets, but here on the screen at any rate, you can see the building is composed primarily of brick, 2 different colors of brick, again, meeting the text by breaking up any kind of larger expanse of what would otherwise be blank walls, addressing the entranceway with a couple different materials, but also adding in, and it's just showing kind of dark here. Delaware, we would condition this recommendation of approval with the Delaware blue vein limestone on these columns and this wall here, as well as this wall, and the applicant's aware of that. I think that's what the design intent was here. Again, I think it's just showing dark in this rendering. The rooftop mechanical units would also be screened there's a particular screen you can buy for rooftop mechanical units. It's not unlike others that we have had in the city as well, but that would basically hide those from being visible. Whoops. So with that, I think I will stop the staff report. I think it's a fairly straight case for us as staff. All departments have reviewed it and recommend approval with the 11 conditions that you see in your staff report. And I am happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Is there any plans on putting a traffic light in?
So yeah, the mast
One
arm,
time I know there was.
yeah, the mast arms are actually out there. You can kind of see the shadows of them here a little bit. And I believe, if I recall my history, the lights were hung back when the original infrastructure were put in, but they were not warranted, and so they were removed. But I believe the mast arms are out there today, and when warranted, then the signals would go in. But yeah, that's been the plan. Carrie, do you have something there?
Yeah, we requested the trip generations from the applicant. So once we get that, should turn this closer to them. We'll evaluate it to see if it will meet the warrants. And if it meets warrants, city staff will reinstall it because we currently have the existing signal that was originally there. Okay. So if it meets warrants, it'll go in. If at some certain point in time, if it doesn't meet warrants now, but it does later, it'll be installed at that time.
So will it warrant any turn lanes or?
The turn lanes are already present on
Yep.
William Street. And I do believe there might be a turn present on Lansdale, but
Yep.
I'd have to look closer at that.
There
I
is.
don't believe that there would be any roadway improvements necessary with this.
So if the traffic light is warranted, the city will pay for that?
We have the material. I mean,
Just
we
the
already
installation
have it
cost.
I
all.
believe the developer had installed those
Yes.
with the backbone infrastructure.
It was when
Just
Willowbrook
when we
Retail
took,
was,
the signals weren't warranted at the time, so we took them down, so we have them.
yeah, it's in our inventory.
Along William, what is the, like the current landscape that is there? What kind of conditions is it in? And it's been sitting, I mean,
Yep.
if they went in during development, decade ago.
Yep. We've been out there periodically in the Willowbrook, the entire PUD area, and enforcing all landscape on the various property owners through the years. Some replacement trees actually happened in this corridor as well over the last several years under that program. And so it is up to what was required at this time. Obviously, this time of year, you know, can't tell whether a tree died between the fall and now, but.
Any other questions for staff? I'd like to invite the applicant to come forward. If you could just state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Mike.
Yeah, you can have.
Sorry. Good evening. My name is Mike McKay with Ohio Health, address 3535 Olentangy River Road, Columbus.
Thank you. Any concerns with any of staff's comments or recommendations?
No.
Okay.
Staff's been great to work with. We had met with them a number of times. We've had very good dialogue. Ohio is very excited to have this facility get started. We're excited to continue to provide additional services in the city of Delaware, and we're certainly, if you have any questions, you know, this is going to be mostly a primary care facility. We're going to be able to add additional physicians to serve the community. Obviously, there's a lot of rooftops out in that area that are going in and are there. There will be a lab draw that anybody with a prescription needs a blood drawn. You can walk in off the street and have blood drawn as well. So, and that'll be serving largely the primary care practice, but anybody so it's an additional service in that area on this side of town, and allows us for additional services. So we're excited. May rotate some specialists through as trying to bring care closer to the community, make it easier for folks, don't have to drive as far to maybe see a specialist if they rotate through one day a week or one day a month, however that, you know, those schedules allow. So we're excited about the facility. We're excited about the potential. As Dave talked about, there is additional property we decided to go ahead and take down. Have no current plans for it. I'm not sure. We'll see how the growth goes, how the market, you know, how things change. We're excited about that potential as well. So any questions pertaining?
Is there any discussion in the plan for employee, like outdoor employee sitting, anything along those lines?
Not from our perspective.
Okay.
If you're asking me that question, no.
It's for both you know, staff and you.
I'll be honest. Typically, staff's pretty busy. They're running pretty hard. The corner, which go back to the maybe the elevation, Dave, if you could. The glass corner there that we're looking at is actually a break room that, you know, being that this building is kind of a four-sided building, that corner ends up being a glass. If there's a lot of glass component to that, it's going to be the break room for folks. So it's going to be really nice for the associates when they get a chance to go take a lunch or go take a break. But typically, our associates don't go outside.
Okay.
Will you be moving existing staff into that building?
Well, so that
I mean, like, you got the Smith Clinic there, you got the
correct.
clinic down on 23.
Correct.
You know, you've got the Grady Hospital.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm just wondering
It's
where
a combination.
all these doctors are going to come for.
It's a combination. There will be at least one physician that's currently within the city who's going to move out and initially, but it's really more of a growth strategy than it is. One, possibly two that are within the city could move out. We'll move out there, but it's set up for 4 up to 6 potential.
So it won't impact the Smith Clinic building.
No.
Not too long ago, Ohio Health came to us and wanted to build a sports medical building beside the YMCA.
Mhm.
And is that completely off the table right now?
It's different from this project, I guess. That's I don't want to say that's. I know there's still discussions and relationships there that may still be going on. This is a standalone project from that. And I'm not trying to be vague. I just, but best of my knowledge, this is an independent project.
And with the amount of money that the city put into the infrastructure south of town, and then the hospital did not go in. I had a meeting with Steve Bunyan 2 or 3 years ago and promised some payback. Still have not seen a dime, so don't be surprised if this comes out when it comes before council.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I'm personally not part of
I
that at
know,
all.
but I'm
Certainly, I'm
just
glad you mentioned it because I will
giving you a
certainly go
heads up.
back and yeah, no, that's worth, thank you very much.
Now, there were an awful lot of promises made, because I was on council at that time. Awful lot of promises made by Ohio Health and by Grady before you bought Ohio Health out. In fact, it was Grady that was going to do that. And then, you know, and the president of the hospital at that time swore to us that they were not selling to Ohio Health. In 30 days, they had sold Ohio Health. So I think a lot of people in Delaware who spent a lot of money to put the infrastructure and everything else down there in that south campus have been a little bit disappointed, okay, in the return on that money. And I know council's going to be concerned about it.
And you get one case on the docket, you know. You're gonna get a lot of questions when you're only, if there were 10 other cases, I imagine we could be more one through, but no, just kidding.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to assume there's no one here from the public who wishes to speak on this case, but I will invite you to come forward if you do wish to speak on it. All right. Seeing no participation from the public this evening, I will bring it back to the commission for either further discussion or action.
I'll move to approve item 2018-3116 as requested with all staff requirements.
Motion by Mr. Badger,
Second.
second by Mr. Volnick.
Mr. Badger,
Yes.
Mr. Halter,
Yes.
Mr. Prahl,
Yes.
Mr. Volnick,
Yes.
Mayor Riggle,
yes.
Vice Chairman Mansoris.
Yes.
Chairman Simpson.
Yes. And David, just for everybody's knowledge, this first reading for this will occur when?
Council's meeting of the 28th
Of February, okay.
No,
this
Of
month.
January, that's right.
And that
Still
meeting
January.
will begin, that meeting begins early. It's going to start at 6 p.m. as
6
we have a joint meeting at 7 after.
Council can take 3 readings on, they can take as many readings as they like, but typically can take 3 readings for a non-controversial final development plan. They can also, at your request, move approval and suspend their rules at 1 reading, although that has not been their recent habit. Fair enough, Mayor? Okay.
Excellent. Good luck. Moving on to item number 4 on tonight's agenda, Planning Director's Report.
Members of the commission, I hope everybody had good holidays and happy, healthy new year. Looking forward to another busy 2019, although it could be slightly less busy, and I think my staff would be okay with that. Not sure, I was doing some year-end numbers. I'm not sure at this point if I've just sent them internally or I remember to send them to you yet or not. If I didn't, we did have a record new residential permit year set last year all time, beat the previous record of 2005. Well in excess of 600 new residential permits, combination of single family and non-single family, as you all know, since you saw many of the cases, although many of the cases that you saw haven't actually gone to construction yet for building. So we will see some of those numbers come through this year as well. I could tell you in the first 16 days of January, so far, we're on track for 20 to 30 new single-family permits issued this month. January is typically a very slow month for construction. That would put it probably number 2 all-time, January. So just to give you a sense that momentum still seems to be there, even though we have 1 case this month and believe 1 case next month. Which will be at this point, which would be proposed Burger King on West Central. really rounding out the revamped Bueller's development site. It'll be the last site there to the west. And that would also precipitate the completion of the Phase 2 traffic improvements. So that's a good thing for that site as well. But we're still working through final details with them, but that's what's anticipated for next month. So, yeah, but just in some of the calls we've received already, I think I've received maybe 3, maybe 4 potential major annexation calls already in the first 16 days. So a couple of them are stretches, but a couple of them are very real. So we'll be working through those as staff and go through the process from there. Delaware's a very exciting place. And if I don't know if you guys ate downtown tonight, or if you didn't, after the meeting, go eat downtown. It's a pretty special place. Downtown's really pretty special. Was running some of the numbers with Diane Gunther on my staff on the facade grant program, and we are in 2019 almost assuredly going to go over the $1 millionth of combined public and private investment in that facade program in our downtown, which is a pretty significant number. So in 30 some individual projects. So that's a good thing for our downtown. Many other things on the docket for this year. But we're enjoying trying to take a little bit of pause and get ourselves together for the coming year. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Chairman Simpson, if I may, this is very atypical, but City Manager Mr. Homan asked me to give Commission a brief update on design manual updates that I've been working on for Public Works. Our last addendum to an update was done in 2014, and I have primarily everything ready to be hopefully adopted by the city manager and released to our developers and our engineers and everyone working hard on developer plans. The most significant change to the design manual with this release will be changes to street lighting. AEP required of us last year, they met with us in July to meter all our street lighting, which gave us an opportunity to revisit what our street lighting looks like and where it's located. So I'm working through providing the city manager some information he requested so that he can proceed with approval, or perhaps I need to make revision. There are other updates to standard drawings and bringing up some things that are current or revising some stuff that maybe had some ambiguity to it. But I hope that within the next month that'll be released. That could adjust. We might have to withdraw the lighting and then release the lighting again when we're ready to do that. But this has been, for me, kind of a labor of love. I've put a lot of hours into it, but I think it's going to result in an improved product, gives better clarification to our design professionals, and helps the city continue to move forward with modernizing some stuff and clearing up some questions that might have been in the existing documents.
Okay.
So
yeah, I was going to ask if since AEP approached us, if that was more along the lines metering it for the future in terms of reducing the cost. And
I think that's their objective,
LED.
to be able to keep track a lot clearer about what our consumption costs are and not using some calculation based. You'll still have that with high pressure sodium, but with all of our lights that are moving forward, I think AEP had preferred that all lighting beginning in 2019, regardless of the project status, would be metered. But that's very difficult when we have existing design standards and engineering plans with approvals. So I am working with 3 developments to transition their plans from the current standard on lighting to the new standard, which we're still developing. And I'm very appreciative of those design professionals and developers who have been very willing to work with us through this.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it, but I don't know exactly what that final product is going to look like, so I don't want to say too much.
Okay.
And I can definitely release the disposition of changes so that you can see what changes were made and make readily available, once adoption is complete, the whole document.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Any questions on that particular thing, or any questions for Dave before we move forward?
It's helpful.
it's pretty thick. If it's the whole manual, it's pretty thick. If
It's only
just
about
the-
550 pages.
I'm sure there's some separator pages in there.
There are.
Making it look-
Not many.
The previous one wasn't indexed, didn't have page numbers in the chapters, so we tried to make it a little user-friendly too.
It's important.
PDF bookmarked.
It's fancy. I like it. All right. Commission member comments and discussion. Let's start with, starting this way and work our way around this time.
No comments?
I got none.
Nothing tonight?
Any update? Oh, I've got something. Any update as far as when they might get the new fire station staffed? And have you heard anything yet?
Just got an updated staff meeting yesterday, and I might get this wrong, but I believe they're looking to move furniture in here yet and get staffing up and getting it open here, maybe within the next month or so, is what I've heard. It's coming along. It's definitely coming along. And I don't know what you think, Commissioner, but it's looking good down there.
I mean, it looks very nice. Very nice.
Just a question, next to CVS, something's going on. Is that just a stockpile from the apartments, or is there something going in there?
I don't know what you're talking about. Is it sledding hill out there? Or is it? No, I'm just, yeah, they're stockpiling dirt out there.
So there's not anything planned going in there?
No, the developers talked to us about potential different developments, and of course, we set some of the infrastructure and the turn lanes on Central in anticipation of that, but it's a difficult site with topography and the floodplain, and very specific zoning, and I think that's been a difficulty to final development, but while there was some dirt available in the area, I think they accepted it because they're going to have to fill that site, that portion of the site.
I anticipate they'll continue the stockpiling through at least the next month. Yeah.
But nothing as of yet.
I had 3 calls in one day on that. What's going on? What's going on? Nothing.
Well, Delawareans are nothing if not observant.
So I'm sure they'd like to bring that property up to street level.
Yeah,
Instead of having to drop down the way.
well, for some of the roadway connections, they would obviously have to do that. For some of the development sites like CVS, they could sit lower, and then we'd work with some design things. But so they had to figure all that out if they're going to bring a final development plan forward for I think they had three outlots maybe along the front there that they can do. It's no, it's not Steak and Shake. We don't know what it is.
Nothing. We don't know anything.
That's how rumors get started.
Yeah. Is this thing on? Is this thing? That's the one we always mention.
I have one other thing I wanted to ask, and Carrie, you probably know as much. There was a survey crew doing something along the north curb line of Central, across from CVS and down toward the fire station. Is that
I believe that would be city doing survey to consider a preliminary alignment for bike path along Central Avenue from
Kind of thought that.
Lexington to Hauk.
yeah, thank you.
I think so.
Happy New Year, everybody. Looking forward to a good, productive year. Hopefully a little bit less rough than last year, a little bit more smooth, but hey, we'll see how it goes, right? With that,
Certainly.
The next regular meeting will be February 6th. Sounds like we'll have a couple things on the agenda, so looking forward to that. With that, we will adjourn this evening at 6:58 p.m. Usually
That's the shortest